You are listening to the Cinderbury Chronicles. Journey with us into the world of Copper Hollow.
Welcome to Copper Hollow, a rundown borough in the vast industrial city of Cinderbury. This is our 7th episode. I'm P. Rose, narrator and voice of Amelia Wright, Diana Farewell, and Elizabeth Rath in this episode.
And I'm Orphin, and I'll be the voice of Victor Stratton, Albert, Silas, Hugo Shah, Malcolm Maxwell, and Larkin in this episode.
Chapter 6, The Funeral. Miss Ada Wright of the Wright dynasty will be laid to rest alongside some of our nation's most notable figures. But how will she be remembered? Some paid tribute to Miss Wright, commending her for having fought for the rights of automatons. But many have doubts about her contributions to her family and nation. Indeed, if one digs into the storied life of this charitable spinster, it is not long before one finds skeletons. She has been accused by many of frittering away her family's once considerable fortune on lavish foreign expeditions and frivolous galas, events that many have criticised as morally dubious affairs. Few would also forget her hand in several fraught so-called human rights campaigns, including an attempt to decriminalise sodomy that ended up in undeniable failure. If Miss Ada Wright has a legacy, it is that she will continue to be a divisive figure even in her passing. Philip Johnson, of the Cinderbury Observer. Amelia lies in her bed, staring at the ceiling, wanting nothing more than to stay there. She listens to the movements down the stairs, the sound of heavy furniture being dragged along the floor. She lies there feeling unfit to deal with the arrangements, tossing and turning, her mind refusing to accept the grim reality, eventually forcing herself up. She looks at the imposing box her great-grandfather had given her, left on the nightstand, not daring to touch it. Throwing a knitted dressing gown around herself, she heads to the door. Stepping out, she feels something crumble underfoot, and looks down to find a small brown paper package. Inspecting it, it feels like something is broken inside. Milk chocolate wrapped in gold foil. Her eyes widen and she chuckles, thinking of how Albert is really a big softy despite his hard metal exterior. She walks down the landing and up a second flight of stairs, heading towards Albert's office. As she reaches the old scratched door, its paint peeling at the edges, she hears voices from within. Stopping herself from knocking, she leans in a little.
The package arrived with some damage.
She almost swears she can hear Albert sigh.
I was afraid of this, but of course I knew the risks. How bad is it? They think with time and attention there may be some recovery, but they can't say for certain. What about Amelia?
The voice says, seeming familiar to her. She hears the scrape of a chair.
She will understand, given time. You're continuing to keep an eye on her, aren't you?
Albert asks, his voice closer now. Amelia withdraws as she hears the sound of 2 automatons' footsteps coming towards her. She darts into the room across the hall, dark, full of boxes and covered in dust. The light had long since stopped working. She closes the door quietly, trying her best to avoid its squeak. She listens as the office door opens across the hall.
Have you found out much about the Williams boy?
Albert asks over the jingle of his keys.
Of course. I'm waiting on a report. I'm expecting it this evening.
The voice says, getting further and further away. Amelia feels something scurry across her feet. She leaps back, kicking the thing across the room. It clatters against the wall. She shivers and runs an energetic hand along her arms. The hairs on the back of her neck bolt upright. The room is quiet, her skin crawling. After a moment, she forces herself to walk over and inspect the thing. Bending down, trying to see what it could have been, she spots movement. She jumps back and squints in the darkness. A small, dimly glowing creature with multiple legs scuttles up the wall. Opening the door, letting in some light to get a better look, her jaw drops. It's a metal spider, its rear transparent, holding the unmistakable substance that automatons so desperately need, ambrosia. She had never thought of automatons as being so small, and finds herself wondering who could have made this. Certainly Ada had the skills, but why would she want to? What creature could she have used for its brain? It would have taken an awfully long time to develop. Why hadn't she told Amelia if she had made this? Before she can think to grab something to contain it with, it scuttles behind a broken skirting board. She shakes herself, her mind whirring, and steps out onto the landing to escape the dark, dusty room. She wonders if Albert knows, and what he was talking about with the stranger. Why would Albert be keeping things from her? One thing she knows for sure, Larkin isn't going to believe any of it.
Everything is seen to. You needn't lift a finger.
Silas tells Amelia. He wears a fine suit with a black tie and a pair of engraved silver cufflinks, his brown hair slicked back and his green eyes locked on Amelia. He stands behind her as she looks in the mirror. She wears an expensive, rigid black dress that hugs her torso and goes past her ankles. She barely recognises herself. Even her red hair had been elegantly done in a twisted bun. The only thing that feels like her is the silver floral locket that sits around her neck. Silas had bought the dress for her and had a stylist come to her room to do hair and makeup. 2 identical dresses lie on the bed. She hadn't worn a dress for over half a decade, not since her mother's funeral. "You didn't have to do this. It doesn't feel right. And you shouldn't have bought 3, she tells him, staring at the folds in the dress. Silas looks her up and down.
I didn't know what would fit.
Amelia gives him a side glance. "You guessed pretty well. How did you know my size?"
I saw the size on your coat. I got 2 others just to be safe.
He admits nonchalantly, picking up the dresses from the bed and placing them in her brass wardrobe. "What are you doing? I'm not keeping them. They don't fit anyway." She turns, watching him. He chuckles, shaking his head.
They're yours. Keep them. Never hurts to have a little spare.
"I don't need them. I rarely wear dresses, and as I said, they're not my size," she tells him, turning back to the mirror. Silas gives her a look and puts them back in the bag. Amelia straightens out the folds on the dress.
No, Amelia. It's supposed to be like that. Come along. You must greet your guests.
He takes her arm, leading her out of the room towards the stairs. She glances at him, feeling uncomfortable with the formality. She takes in the hall as they descend the stairs. The bots have been polished, visibly gleaming among the guests. Many had returned from their new homes to pay their respects. So many familiar metal and leather faces. It's hard to keep track. A testament to Ada's dedication and caring. When Amelia was a child, the orphanage was able to take in dozens of wayward automatons at a time. Irene greets people as they enter. Lily sits with little John near a window, comforting him, or at the very least keeping him distracted. Likewise, local kids in their Sunday best are kept in line by their mothers. She spots Larkin near the buffet table, talking to family friends. All of them cleaned up surprisingly well for people from Scrapfield. As she reaches the bottom of the stairs, something cold touches her hand. A small brass bot with exhausts poking out of his back, in an adorable grey suit, holds his hand out to her. She takes it, squeezing slightly. She attempts to smile at Blinky, removing herself from Silas.
Sorry, Amelia. I think that's Mart Nascot over there. I need to have a brief word. Please, excuse me.
Silas tells her, walking towards the parlour. Amelia and Blinky make their way to the front door as an older woman approaches, entirely dressed in black. "Diana, you made it. I'm sorry I haven't come by the shop yet. It's just been such an ordeal." Diana shakes her head. "My dear, don't give it a second thought. It's been hard to believe that Ada is really gone. I feel like she'll walk through one of these doors any minute wondering what all the fuss is about. But look at you. Poor thing, in this big old building with that grumpy old metalhead. You know we're in this rotten mess together, right? My shop is always open for you, dear." Amelia pulls Diana into a hug, a lump forming in her throat. "Don't feel like you're stuck in that shop all alone. I know you usually spend a lot of time here with Ada, and the door is always open to you, but I haven't been entirely alone myself. Larkin and Albert have been a huge help. I don't think I would have gotten through the last few days without them. Albert really got the others through it." Diana smiles at Amelia, squeezing her arm. "You're too humble, dear. It's good we have those 2 around, but we all know it's the women who get things done around here. It's going to be hard now, isn't it? I struggled to get out of bed this morning. First your mother, now Ada. The good die young. You best not be too well behaved now, my dear. I couldn't bear the thought." The pair manage a fleeting chuckle, Diana's eyes welling up. Amelia bites her lip, trying to hold it together. Clearing her throat, Diana steps back, taking a look at the young woman. "You look lovely despite it all. They barely recognise you. I didn't know you had anything like this. A proper young lady." "I don't. Not really. Mr. Williams bought me this." She looks towards Silas. "Oh, really?" Diana inspects the man from across the room. I've heard his family are very well connected. Be careful of that boy, Amelia. I'm going to say goodbye to her. We'll have a good cup of tea when all this wraps up. Diana breaks away, going towards the open coffin, leaving Amelia and Blinky at the door. Amelia can barely make herself look at her aunt's body. Every time she does, she feels a tidal wave of guilt wash over her. She should have come to the orphanage sooner. Maybe her aunt could have become an elder. She deserved to be an elder. Turning, a man stands before her, not much taller than herself. He's trim and dressed in fine attire, with a red silk waistcoat and matching tie against his jet black funeral suit. His deep bronze skin reflects a life in a land more sun-kissed than that of the pasty clouds of Cinderbury. He grins at her, and she recognises that smile from the Cinderbury Times.
Ah, Miss Wright, Hugo Shah. Very sorry for your loss.
He says with an exotic accent. He reaches his hand out for hers. She allows him to take it. Rather than the handshake she was expecting, he leans down to kiss her knuckles. She does her best to contain her surprise. She supposes that this is the norm in his circles.
Your aunt was very wise. I had come to know her of late. We found our causes have much in common. I am the representative for the Golden Continent, you see. Cinderbury has been kind to neither automatons nor its colonies. I would very much like to maintain my relationship with this fine institution.
He fishes for something in his jacket and pulls a cheque from his pocket.
I hope it helps,
he says, handing it to her. She looks at the cheque and stands up a little straighter. Thank you, Mr. Shah. My aunt had mentioned you before. We appreciate any help we can get. Feel free to come by any time. Our doors are always open. He nods and walks towards the parlour as Amelia puts the cheque away.
You should wear a dress more. It suits you.
A voice whispers behind her. Amelia turns to find Silas. Well, I'm sure it would look great on you too. Once I'm done with it, you should try it on, she snipes. Silas leans back, unable to keep a grin off his face.
I was warned that you were sharp, but I had yet to experience it myself. It's rather unladylike.
He chuckles, taking her arm.
I know this is difficult, but let's get it over with, shall we?
He gestures to the parlour. They make their way over to Albert and a group of other elders, Amelia reluctantly allowing Silas to guide her. These elders look somewhat different to Albert. Their metal frames are newer, smoother, more human-like in the modern style. They stand near the bay window. The guest closest to Albert is a tall, feminine elder with auburn metallic hair shaped into a bun. A tall military elder and short, aristocratic elder stand with them. They hold themselves in distinctly different manners, yet each of them exude authority. The other guests in the room keep a small distance, occasionally a wary glance is thrown their way. She sees Albert in a new light as he stands amongst these elders, the way he fits in their group seamlessly. Maybe there is more to her grandfather than she knows.
Ah, Mr. Williams, Amelia. This is Elizabeth, Victor, and Malcolm. This is my granddaughter, Amelia. She has grown a great deal since you've last seen her. Of course you know Blinky, and this gentleman is Mr. Silas Williams. He's been very generously covering the costs of, well, all of this.
Blinky salutes the group and Silas steps forward, hand out.
Silas Williams, of the Bronsmore Williamses. Pleasure to meet you.
The elders shake his hand tentatively, barely paying him any dues. Elizabeth looks to Amelia. My dear, I'm so sorry for your loss. Young Ada was so wonderful. She looked quite like you when she was your age. Elizabeth addresses Amelia with an unmistakably upper-class accent, reaching a hand to comfort her. The gesture is unduly stiff even for an automaton. Albert watches the pair carefully, keeping quiet. Victor nods to Amelia with the posture of a true military officer.
Your aunt was fierce and true. Not a finer woman would you meet. It's truly tragic, her passing. She will not be forgotten.
His voice has a gravelly quality to it, not unlike the voice she had heard earlier talking to Albert. She finds herself somewhat uncomfortable around him, wondering how he could be keeping an eye on her. The third elder, Malcolm, looks around the room, his eyes settling on the view outside the window.
I don't know what this place will do without her. I'm sure you're more than up for the job, though. You are right, after all. Still, she really made this place. I truly thought she would make Copper Hollow great once more.
Malcolm shakes his head and sighs. His voice is posh but clearly masking a lower-class accent. Amelia looks to the ground, avoiding Albert's stare. She has a job to get back to. How could she run this place? He says that she's ready, that he will help her. Yet he's having secret meetings without her? She nods in agreement, feeling out of her depth around these esteemed old automatons.
Why don't I escort you to your seat? The priest will be starting the ceremony shortly.
Silas asks Amelia, who nods gratefully. The old waiting room has been converted to accommodate the funeral. A dozen or so benches have been brought in. Delicate metal flowers decorate the room, and Ada's coffin had been placed centre stage. Silas shows Amelia to her seat at the front and kneels down so that they are eye to eye.
I know you don't know me very well yet, but I'm going to get you through this. Just a couple of more hours, and this will all be over.
Silas tells her, taking her hand. Amelia nods, frustrated by his uninvited coddling. She looks towards the coffin, not returning his gaze.
I have to go and attend to a few things. Will you be okay?
She nods again, and with that Silas leaves the room. After a moment, Amelia makes her way to the coffin, leaving Blinky on the bench. Ada's dark greying hair has been pulled into a bun, her eyes closed, and her hands clasping a metal cog engraved with thorns. She wears a dress that Amelia has never seen before. She doesn't much look like the Auntie Ada she remembers. "I'm so sorry," she whispers.
Sorry for what?
A voice comes from behind. She swivels to find Larkin, leaning against one of the benches. "You crept in here, didn't you?" she accuses. She isn't sure whether Larkin forgives her. He isn't either. He shrugs, wearing an old suit that the family had bought him when Amelia's mother had passed. His ankles in plain view.
Not deliberately. Why are you sorry?
Amelia's lip trembles. "I should have come sooner. I should have been here. Maybe it wouldn't have been too late. I knew something was wrong. She should have become an elder." Tears begin rolling down her cheeks, her body shaking, and she feels as though she might crumple to the ground at any minute. Larkin walks forward, pulling her into a hug.
You couldn't have done anything. It's not your fault. She would have told you were being silly.
His eyes tear up, but he has to keep himself together. He has to be there for Amelia. It is his turn to do something for her. He hugs her tightly so she can't see him cry. That was chapter 6 of Copper Hollow. Hope you enjoyed it. This is part of a podcast series where we record the audiobook and you get to be the first ones to listen for the wonderful price of free. That was a bit of an emotional ending, Larkin and Amelia coming together after an uncomfortable moment of grief and then realising that they aren't actually upset with each other, they're upset at the situation.
Yeah, last chapter, Larkin was kind of left out of the loop and Amelia didn't know how to address Ada's death with him. And this time we see that they're coming to terms. They're making up for that. And I think Larkin knows how much Ada meant to Amelia and how much Ada meant to him as well. And they're just really coming together to deal with this grief.
Yeah, like he puts it aside, that doesn't matter. But not everyone liked Ada, as we saw in the excerpt of Philip Johnson's article. Yeah, Johnson is a little bit rude here, I think. He's a little bit trying to be a contrarian, almost.
Yes, certainly this is a contrarian kind of grift, sort of a tabloid newspaper-esque hit piece on Ada Wright and really casting shade on who she was.
Even the stuff he says, like, none of it seems that bad. He's just saying it in a way that appears bad. He's going on traditional values and the fact that she didn't really follow those traditional values.
Yes, for sure. He is really playing on rumours and what speculation about who she was and what her proclivities were and what sort of a person she was, even though he doesn't really say anything directly.
No, he doesn't. And I think Ada probably did ruffle a few feathers, in fairness.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely see how he frames her having fought for automatons' rights. It's almost questioning whether automatons deserve rights at all. So there's definitely a bit like The Preacher, a bit of that Luddite vibe about what he's writing as well.
Yeah.
So he's got that dig in. And then he's casting her as an out-of-touch, rich celebrity who sort of spent all the money and left nothing for the family. It's a really egregious framing.
Which is kind of an antithesis of the previous excerpt. In the previous chapter, we had an obituary from Diana Farewell, who we saw in this chapter, and she was singing Ada's praises. Like, she was saying, oh, she did so much, she went on these worldly travels, she helped all these people, and then when her niece needed her, she came back and gave up, all the joys in the world that she was going to look after her niece and be there for her.
We really see how somebody can come in and assassinate somebody's character, having known nothing about the person and just gone off of speculation and gossip and nothing of substance.
I think it's really easy to kick the Wrights. The Wrights don't have the power that they used to have. They're not the social capital that they used to have. So to look down on the Wrights, especially in a world that isn't very kind to automatons, it's quite an easy way to be cruel for cruelty's sake and to get a bit of controversy, get people reading, so that then you're causing this larger divide within society about how they feel about the Wrights and casting shadow on the right name.
Yeah, they're in an odd place, as we've discussed before. They're almost like a bridge between the different classes, and they're kind of middle class. They still have the name, to lesser degree the fame, so people would still know the name, but there's no real consequences because they can't follow up with expensive legal representation the way other upper class people would, And I don't think they're interested either.
No, they're not. They put all their money into the orphanage.
And the way that he describes her frittering away her family's once considerable fortune on lavish expeditions and frivolous galas, like there's some grain of truth to this.
Yeah.
But we can see that she actually sold her airship to pay for the orphanage to keep it going. The galas were a charity affair. I don't think they were frivolous at all. You have to have galas, you have to fundraise. It's just kind of ridiculous the way he's framing it. And then he's going on to say that these galas were morally dubious affairs and that she had supported several fraught campaigns to decriminalize sodomy. Yeah. So there's a lot of preaching and appealing to people's traditional values to kind of disgrace Ada.
He's really bastardizing it. What she did was she fought for the rights of LGBTQ people, but here he's decided to go with the most tantalizing of words, to really push it out there to make people be like, oh, how dare she?
Oh, what sort of disgusting proclivities is she into? Absolutely. And they would have very much this is definitely a backward society where people would consider a lot of LGBTQ plus issues to be fringe or disgusting or against the religion or the tradition, so it's a very oppressed society. So that really has a big audience.
Absolutely. And he's really appealing to the masses by writing it like this, by giving it this angle.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that we have our first scene. Amelia is lying in bed. She is dreading this funeral, all of the socialising she's going to have to do when she just wants to grieve for her aunt, right? And so she wakes up and she forces herself out of bed to find this chocolate bar that Albert had left for her to kind of say sorry for the way that he left things. So in the last one, Albert had an argument with Amelia where he was saying that she needs to take on the orphanage, and she was like, no, I don't, though. And so here he was like, sorry for being so pushy.
Yeah, there's two angles to it. One is sorry for being pushy, and he definitely has a soft side. And I think he's genuinely really nice underneath, but his society has never really let him grow that aspect of his personality. But the other aspect is that it's kind of bribery and corruption. He's like, oh, look, I'm a lovely granddad. You can make this work. We're going to be great.
Yeah, he's trying to get his way still. Absolutely. But he's like, look, I love you so much. I bought you chocolate, see?
Sneaky.
And then she goes to thank him or to talk to him about it. And she hears voices from within his room. And there's this strange conversation happening.
This strange conversation about packages and some sort of surveillance. It's really clandestine conversation that she's overhearing.
He seems to be up to something. So then she hides in the room opposite, and it seems to just be an old storage room. And this weird automaton spider appears.
Yeah, she's never seen this little thing before. In fact, she doesn't even believe automatons could be this size. It's definitely something cutting edge that she's just seen.
And there's this indication that maybe Ada or Albert or someone is behind this, but why? What's the point? She's in this room. She's been freaked out by this spider. She's still hiding, but she doesn't really want to be in there anymore. And she's got this thing where she's aware that it just seems so ridiculous and unbelievable.
Yeah, she absolutely thinks she won't be believed because she's never seen an automaton this size. Also, what is going on in the orphanage? There's definitely something going on, because Ada did not want her to come for weeks as well. Like, they usually had dinner together, and then for several weeks she had told her not to come. So there's definitely a lot of suspicious activity leading up to Ada's death. And now she sees these little spiders. There's a web of lies going on here.
And speaking of suspicious characters, Silas comes in and he's got all these dresses for her, and she's like kind of like horrified at his flippancy with money, I suppose, his willingness to spend all this money on her, someone he barely knows, and she's got all these like fancy dresses now that she doesn't have anything to do with, and she'd never asked him for this. She hadn't been expecting him to provide clothes and hair and makeup and all that stuff. It seems mad to her, and yet he kind of imposes on her, and because he is funding the funeral, she kind of has to let him.
Yeah, it's very, very useful, especially in that moment where her head is not in the game. She's dealing with Ada's death and honestly just the idea of the future and taking on her duties and everything else. So it suits her quite well to have somebody help organise her and to cover a lot of the costs, but at what cost is really the question, because he is definitely trying to wheedle his way into her company.
And then we have Blinky. So Blinky is a child automaton, and he doesn't really speak, so I would say Blinky is non-verbal. He was changed into an automaton when he was really young, and he gets quite attached to people, and he was really, really attached to Ada.
Yeah.
And her death has been so hard on him, but now he is choosing Amelia, essentially. In this scene, we see him reach his hand out to Amelia and stay by her side throughout the whole scene, which is like really sweet and sad.
Yeah.
He's quiet throughout the scene, but he is there throughout the entire funeral. And then we have Diana. This is the first scene where we see Diana and Amelia interact. Remember, Diana was in the scene with Larkin, and we found out that she teaches young kids, like teaches them to read. And she's very close with the family. Remember, we mentioned her earlier again as well. She did Ada's obituary. They were very, very close.
Now, they were definitely best friends. Like, you can see that they were thick as thieves and they were like minds, you know.
And Amelia even feels bad that she hasn't stopped in to visit Diana. Even though she's going through it, she knows Diana's going through it too, because they were so close and she's so close to the family, you know, that they're all suffering this grief. And Diana's very willing to like tease Larkin and Albert, and like she calls Albert a metalhead, and we can see that isn't treated as like a real insult. It's treated as like a jokey, friendly thing, like a bit of banter, really.
So long as it's meant in a kind way, I think it's fine.
Yeah, and she's very judgy about Silas as well.
Yeah, she was quite cold about Silas. To be fair, she would be, I think, very protective of Amelia, and she's worried about this, well, who's this guy coming in and ingratiating himself with her, especially while she's vulnerable. So she doesn't like Silas.
And she's heard about the family as well.
Yeah, she's heard about the family, exactly, and she is not...
So she knows about his family.
As we've heard, she had a rant in the previous chapter about rich toffs and being out of touch, the politicians out of touch, and powerful, the ruling classes being out of touch. So she's definitely got an axe to grind when it comes to the politics in Cinnabury.
Yeah, and she doesn't have time for this Silas Williams boy. And speaking of those rich toughs, one of them comes into the scene right now. We meet Hugo Shah.
Yes, the representative who was talking about water quality and trying to get everybody a filter.
And it had called Diana's shop quaint and went to the orphanage. Ada had written about him in a letter to Amelia.
Yeah, and he had donated with Ada, and now we see he's donated again. He's giving the donation directly to Amelia. So again, he's trying to ingratiate himself with the rights, but in particular Amelia as well.
So far he's been a very weird character where we see him in a good light and a bad light. There's the article about him going to, really is just a brothel.
Larkin was mentioning it as well. Definitely some scandal involved with this politician.
Yeah, and then we know Diana doesn't like him, but then Ada was interested in him.
Yes.
And here he is again. Oh, he was advocating for people to get fresh water, and now here he is again, coming to Amelia and actually being quite nice in the scene, being quite fair.
Yeah, and being quite nice, giving a donation, and really his reason for coming is a lot more solid than many other people. He's saying, I'm a representative for some of Cinnabury's colonies. So the Golden Continent is a colony of Cinnabury where they can get exotic goods and other resources. And he's a representative in Cinnabury, probably hard fought to get there, both personally and in the broader political sense. And he sees a common cause with automatons, which is probably what endeared him to Ada as well, you know?
Yeah, he's here trying to give a bit of help. But again, with politicians, you can never trust them. You never know what he's up to, so...
Yeah, there's always this layer of agenda with politics, you know, for good and for bad. I mean, you can't avoid that with politicians. Like, if you want to get stuff done, you have to be smart about it.
Exactly, you know, it's really easy to be a dodgy politician, I think.
Yeah, and apparently it's really easy to be sucking up to these dodgy politicians as a matron of a charity.
I mean, they're actively asking her at this point.
Yes, absolutely.
But then again, the Wrights do have a long-established name, so, you know, that definitely has something to do with it. So yeah, we meet him, and he's just fleeting in the scene. Then we meet the other elders, Albert's friends.
Yes. Albert's friends, Albert's colleagues, in a sense. His peers. More correctly. And they are definitely very high-flying, and you can see that every single one of them is esteemed in their own way.
They look different to Albert too. And I think this is because Albert doesn't spend, he doesn't have as much money as them. He doesn't spend as frivolously, whereas I think they are constantly upgrading how they look.
It's two-pronged, because one, Albert is quite humble and doesn't spend a lot on his appearance. They don't have the money to, nor does he really want to spend money on that. I don't think he's really that interested beyond that being seen as dignified. The other issue is that he is a very old original model of elder. Like, there were many automatons before Albert as well, but he would be, like, back in his day when he was made into automaton, I think it would have been a very cutting edge procedure, particularly being made into a proper elder. So, and he's just kept that body going.
He's almost an antique. Like, it's impressive that he's still going.
Yeah, he really is an antique. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure he's replaced many parts.
But of course, he's an automatonical engineer himself, so he knows how to keep it going. So it's almost like a point of pride that he's still keeping his old body and managing to keep going in this form.
Yeah.
It shows his own ability.
Yes, 100%. And I'm sure he's also had like various Wrights, most recently Ada, on call to maintain him and to talk about how to fix himself, how to keep his body going. So they have the best expertise available to keep it everything working well and well maintained.
So it makes sense that he wouldn't be frivolous about changing his looks when he doesn't really need to. He has the brightest minds in automatonical engineering to help him keep going.
Yeah, and speaking of which, Elizabeth Rath is a corporation. Now, Rath Industries, we'll hear, makes automaton parts amongst many, many, many other things. So he's in with some of the elite of the city, and he can get parts. I think that's why they keep him around as well, as he's such a impressive engineer. I mean, there's a lot to the Wright name. There's a lot to Albert's name in particular. But some of these other elders, they would get a few upgrades from the Wrights. You know, they could certainly work on designs.
No, absolutely. They would use the connection of the Wrights to improve the way they function as well. And we can see that Silas here is very keen to make a good impression, but they don't really care about Silas.
Yeah, they don't really care about Silas. They just snub him. They don't quite. I mean, they humour him, but, you know, he's coming in, I'm a Williams, so I'm very important, and they couldn't care. They just go straight to him.
The only reason they don't snub him more, I think, is because of Albert. Albert introduces them, and it would be rude for them to do that to Albert.
Yes, and Albert does expressly say that he is donating to cover the funeral expenses, etc. So they're fair to him, but they don't seem to like him very much. But he wants in with them. They're all very powerful.
Definitely
old
does.
Money.
And he pushes Amelia a bit here, so I don't know if it was, I think it might have been before this, but he's like, you look really good in a dress, you should wear a dress more. And Amelia isn't having it at this moment. She's kind of sick of him. You know, he's pushed himself on her, he's being very forward, not only is he being very forward, but he's putting himself in a position where she can't really refuse him. So she just pushes back and says, oh, the dress would look great on you too. Like, you should try it on. Just, like, leave me alone. I wasn't asking for this.
little cutting remark. I think she even doesn't intend this. She doesn't want it. She's just like, piss off.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?
basically.
Like, stop.
But I think this has almost the opposite effect that she wants. I think this makes him like her more in this moment. As much as like he might be kind of annoyed at her saying this in himself, he is not. He's like amused. He is surprised. He did not expect this from
Well,
her.
he's intrigued. Yes, absolutely. And he's done this before. Amelia didn't really follow etiquette at allowing him to pull a chair out from the dining table in one of the previous scenes. He has remarked that your aunt didn't let me pull out the chair either. He knows that the Wrights are unconventional free thinkers, and that definitely goes for the Wright women.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw that with what Philip Johnson said about Ada. We can see again and again that they don't necessarily conform to society's standards, and she is quite sick of him at this point. She's putting up with him, but he keeps imposing himself on her at a time where she's quite vulnerable and quite like just wants her own space, and he is taking up that space.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really mixed, as we said. He's so useful, but he's so irritating and really overstepping the boundaries sometimes.
And in contrast to this, at the very end of the chapter, we see Larkin and Amelia, and even though it's a hard scene for them, like they're deciding where they stand, he is a welcome addition to comfort her in this moment. He is feeling the grief that she is feeling. He is like trying to hold back these tears and be strong for her in this moment. And Larkin feels like he owes the Wrights.
Yeah. He feels there's a debt to be paid.
Yeah, he feels this debt to the Wrights because they've done so much for him. I think when he's here seeing Amelia in this moment of grief, and he knows she doesn't have that many people anymore. Like her, unlike Larkin is very social. Amelia isn't really that social. She's quite introverted, and we mentioned that her mother died. Her father is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, her father is
She has Albert.
missing, presumed dead, yeah.
She has Diana, and she has Larkin. And like she really needs some comfort there. Of course, she also has Irene and Lily and all of these automnons too. I don't want to dismiss them, but she has a responsibility for those now. It's different in a way. If she's expected to take on the orphanage, like Albert is trying to push her to, it's a different relationship where she is the caretaker of them. So somebody needs to take care of Amelia too.
Yeah, I mean, Amelia always knew she was in the line of succession for the family, that she was kind of the heir to the families, to this institution, and to all these responsibilities, and even to all the problems, the lack of money, etc. But she just always thought that was out there. She wasn't thinking about it. She was just going to concentrate on her qualifications and about not falling apart with some of the tragedies she's had in her life. And now it's just been foisted upon her by circumstance. Like at the end of the day, things are going to change for her very, very rapidly, and she's feeling a bit overwhelmed. Ada was really a lifeline for her.
And now, like, Larkin is aware of that, and now he feels like he needs to... Like, Larkin can't do all the things that Ada could do, but at least he can be there emotionally for her. And that's kind of Larkin's real ability, is to be emotionally astute.
Yes. Larkin is very good at reading characters a lot of the time, and of stepping in when people need just an ear to hear them, or they need a bit of comfort. And we can see he doesn't think much of himself, and yet a lot of the people around him think very highly of him. Obviously, Amelia thinks really high of him. She doesn't always express it because there's a bit of a sibling relationship there, but she thinks very highly of him.
Yeah.
He has her ear, and he is in a unique position to support and comfort her. Diana thinks extremely highly of him as well.
The Wrights in general think quite highly of Larkin, and they did raise him, but like...
And Albert, I think, is uncomfortable with the idea of like he's not Wright blood, but Albert goes, my boy. Like, even Albert, who is not towards adopting people into the family, thinks of him like family.
He does, yeah, and this is because Larkin is, for all intents and purposes, a Wright. Like, he has been with the family for so long. Yeah, so I think comparing this to Silas, who is putting himself on Amelia, and Amelia's uncomfortable constantly in his presence, there is some discomfort in the scene between Larkin and Amelia, but it falls away when she is able to be emotionally honest with him.
Yes, I just think she couldn't keep it together.
No, she couldn't.
I think sometimes that's hardest as well. from the dealing with grief ourselves, sometimes it's very, not easy, but you can keep a straight face and you can go on and not think about it when it's to do with yourself. But as soon as you see somebody else reacting to it or the consequences of, I don't know about you, but that always hits me the hardest. That's kind of when it's so hard. I remember I had an uncle, and I liked my uncle, but I didn't know him that well, and he was always nice to me, but he passed after a long illness, and I was fine, and it wasn't until I saw my cousins carrying his coffin that just it hit me like a train.
Yeah.
And I think really this is Amelia right now, where Larkin comes up, and Larkin is there for her. Larkin's available. He doesn't do anything to trigger this, really. In fact, he's saying, why are you sorry? You shouldn't be sorry. Yeah. And then, she's hit with it.
Absolutely. I mean, when you see how it impacts other people, I think it can really remind you.
It can stir it in yourself. Yeah, and remind you.
Because it can feel so abstract when you're in that moment.
That's a good term.
At my mother's funeral, I was very young, but I remember just not believing any of it, not realizing, it didn't feel real to me. I was almost laughing hysterically, trying to stop myself, and only seeing my aunt sobbing made it hit home for me.
Yeah.
So I think this is really a moment where she can just let go in that moment with Larkin.
Yes.
She has that emotional
Larkin
safety.
is that safe space. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really Larkin's strength as well, because Albert is great, but he's quite judgy.
Yes.
And he's not emotionally available. And while he can be very empathetic, he, generally speaking, doesn't know how to deal with people and doesn't know how to deal with his own emotions, never mind somebody else's. And then there's Irene and Diana. I think she can open up to them as well, but they're not family the way Larkin is family. Yeah. I suppose Irene is to a degree, but Irene is a little bit more... Irene's not the full shilling sometimes, but I don't know.
With Larkin is that they are in a very similar situation, the two of them, because they grew up together. They feel it in the same way. They have a very similar relationship to Ada.
Yes.
The two of them, Irene and Ada had a very different relationship to what Amelia and Ada had. But
yes,
when she sees Larkin knows exactly how she feels, or almost exactly how she feels, because the relationship between them wasn't that wildly different. So here, it's a different emotional vulnerability. She can be emotionally vulnerable with Diana, emotionally vulnerable with Irene, but again, there is the age difference, there is the different kinds of relationships going on there, and here Amelia gets to be emotionally vulnerable with someone who's got a very strong emotional intelligence that perhaps not even Irene and Diana can fully perform to.
Yeah, absolutely. Ada was definitely there for Larkin. Larkin and Amelia both kind of got Ada as a parent at the same time.
Yeah. And so they both feel that deep connection to her, and they both know the genuine sadness and deep grief that they're feeling in this moment.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah, let us know what you thought of the chapter. This one is a really good setup chapter. We get a lot of information here, I think. And it really helps us go forward within the story.
Yeah, I think it's a really good chapter for moving the story along.
Yeah, and the next chapter is kind of chaos.
Yeah, the next chapter is going to be really a big shift in pace from this chapter for sure.
But thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. This episode was written, produced and performed by R. Finn and P. Rose. No AI-generated content was used in the making of this podcast. Thank you to Alex Grohl, who created the music within this episode. If you would like to support the Cindery Chronicles and our writing, please consider sharing this episode or purchasing a copy of Copper Hollow available on Amazon or Kindle. You can also find exclusive content on the Cindery Chronicles Substack. If Copper Hollow is not available in your region, please contact us at copperhollowbook@gmail.com. Your time, engagement and feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for listening.